Black Cat has another solo series. So what has Felicia been up to? Being a hero, sorta kinda. I'm Sasha, this is Casually Comics. Let's check in with Felicia Hardy, Black Cat, and her latest time recording solo series. 2025 saw Black Cat start a series written by G. Willow Wilson with art by Gleb Melnikov and colors by Brian Reber. There are 6 issues out time of recording, and issue 6 does have a guest artist, that being Andres Genole. 6 issues, so half a year is plenty of time to get a vibe and kind of sense of a series, and whether or not it seems to be up your alley. Sometimes it's fun to just touch base on what's going on and see if there's something that you might be interested in or not. So we're gonna go through, chat about the happenings, see how it lands for you, or how it could land. Black Cat debuted in the Amazing Spider-Man 194 in 1979, created by Marv Wolfman and Dave Cockrum, and she's most associated with being a Spider-Man love interest, as well as her looks and arguments as to whether or not she's a Catwoman knockoff or not. Starting in 2019, the character got her first solo series, not a mini like Claws or Claws 2, a dedicated solo helmed by Jed MacKay, which we talked about on this channel. It was a heist series. That ran for a year, 12 issues, and then it was relaunched with the same writer, and it kind of continued along some of the same format. This run goes in a bit of a different direction, and it's kind of meant to serve as a, say it with me now, jumping on point. The idea being that you could just stumble in off the streets and hop on board. This series is also aiming for a more lighthearted and relatable tone, so get ready for plenty of slang, and also plots that deal with social media fame, and also some breaking of the fourth wall, as well as ample cheesecake. This series does not shy away from that, so if you're looking for that, it's here in Black Cat, and it makes sense. It's fairly baked into the character. There's a bit of a femme fatale edge that's crept in over time. Issue 1 was released in August 2025, and it's our setup issue and opens in the night nurse's office, where we see Black Cat, her henches, Bruno and Boris, as well as Daredevil. Put a pin in that, put a pin in the Daredevil. Also Lizard and some other people. Black Cat's first lines very handily set up the tone of the series. Yep, it's me. I promise this isn't as bad as it looks. Well, maybe it kinda is, but let's back up and start from the beginning. Nope. Further than that, I add the rewind sound effect to the flashback. It just felt apt. There's a kind of old school sitcom energy to this fourth wall break. Yeah, it's me. You're probably wondering how I got into this mess. Now, in the beginning of our flashback, Black Cat is on the run from pulling some kind of heist, and she's trying to get a hold of Peter, whom she accuses of ghosting her. The police are hot on her trail, so she's looking for a safe house. Unfortunately, the one that she's closest to, the Lizard happens to be right under. And we have a fourth wall break cutaway joke to show he's not over their encounter. There's a fun bit for the Lizard here where the dialogue that he has is unintelligible, so he has these little translation boxes. The two end up fighting, but Felicia has the power of bad luck on her side. Not that she exactly knows how it's going to manifest, but she can manipulate the probability fields. When they actually name her power, it's dubbed psychokinesis, so we can get real technical. She utilizes this ability and the Lizard crashes into a dumpster. Spider-Man shows up but does nothing. She talks about the Hellgate with no editor's note to directors anywhere, so if one finds themselves curious, they're going to have to do some legwork. However, one can get by without it. There'll just be a floating question of, was that Peter? Why are they on the outs? That kind of thing. And that can work for some of the plot that's going to arise later on. What's most neat is the fact that Black Cat feels like she's getting the cold shoulder from Spider-Man and makes her reevaluate some things about what's going on. I know it doesn't look that way, but spending your life figuring out how to get all the things you want can be pretty exhausting. The more you get, the more you want. It's a trap. And having the pretty shiny thing is usually less fun than coveting it. The terrible loneliness of fulfilled desire and all that. Poor little me, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm just saying this life isn't as easy or as glamorous as it looks from the outside. Being Black Cat takes work. Melnikov's work has a bad girl 90s edge at times. Personally, I'm all about it. For others, it may be too much. Take the cake away. But back to Felicia talking to us. Fourth wall breaks can be a take it or leave it thing for many people, and some feel that they're best left sparing, or they associate them more with different characters like She-Hulk or Deadpool. But they are here and they are part of this series. They don't happen all the time, but it's consistent enough that's something one can come to expect. Now, it is important to note that this series is going for a comedic undertone or just tone at times, because Felicia is about to give a speech about being high maintenance to be low maintenance. It's something that could have come straight off a TikTok page or an Instagram reel. I'm not super strong like some people. These shoulders were made in the gym. Highlights full foil every 8 weeks. It's not cheap. And I wake up looking like that because I go to bed looking like this. The upkeep itself is practically a full-time job. And that's on top of my full-time job of stealing things. Black Cat nighttime routine when? Yes, this is about how she puts in the work, but the way it's presented. Now, Felicia was hurt in this fight with the Lizard, and so she needs to go see the night nurse. We're getting back to where we started. However, because she's hurt, she gets pickpocketed on the way there. The money clip had to be in her coat, because she said she threw her costume back on. But I have to wonder, would the skin-tight costume be what you would go for to throw back on? She could have just worn some other things and her domino mask, if we're playing the domino mask protects your identity game. game, which we must, it's tradition. While she ends up being treated, Black Cat ends up just spilling all her thoughts out to the night nurse. You know what's depressing? As a thief, you think you work outside the system. You think I'm here to add a little chaos, shake things up, make people who've gotten too comfortable think twice about how they live their lives. But then when actual chaos arrives, when the system starts to change and break apart, you realize, little pinch now, all done. You were saying you realize what? You realize you depend on that system to survive. Chaos doesn't actually help you. You're not outside of it. You're part of it. You thought everybody else was a boring rule follower and you were this cool, edgy rebel. But really, you're just flip sides of the same coin. And now you have to... I always thought it would be great if Spider-Man looked the other way for a while. Easier for me to do my job. But now that he's distracted by Hellgate, everything in my world is worse. I miss the way it was before, when Spider-Man was keeping the other riffraff out of my way. So Black Cat is less having a crisis and more annoyed that the status quo has shifted and now she can't pull heists. So the solution that she comes up with, become a superhero or, well, temporary crime fighter. This is why she got pickpocketed, so she could have her first people to take down. You can tell it's them because they gave one a distinctive baseball cap. So that's the setup going forward, and that is the kind of psychological backing they're gonna give it for the first few issues. So the first arc as it stands is Black Cat kind of switching sides and the fallout that comes from that. All of it meant to be wrapped in a fast-paced and they hope witty and fun package, and one that doesn't require extensive keeping up with the rest of the Marvel universe or overall Marvel lore to make sense. Black Cat is sassy, sarcastic, and sexy as a rule in this. They'll occasionally have some vulnerable moments, but they're still wrapped in that kind of packaging, and it varies in how they land. There is one that stands out, and we'll get to it. The energy and tone of this issue are maintained throughout as of the 6 that we have to look at. So this issue is a good indicator of whether one can anticipate liking the direction or not. Although the follow-up issues will have less expositing to do, and so will have more plot. They do feel like you're getting a full kind of little adventure for Black Cat in each, with an A and B plot. The B format is set up at the end of this issue where we see Tombstone, who's curious about the developments. Issue 2 has a classic Marvel style cover, albeit with more cleavage than the classics. Also, there's a bit of an amusing reference to the infamous Jane Mansfield Sophia Loren bosom reaction photo on this cover, which is fun. This issue also starts off the whole friendly neighborhood Black Cat that she's gonna say throughout. They can't fully separate her from Spider-Man. We're not there yet. She's still floating in his orbit, and many people like her there. The gym she trains at is called Glutes. Cute. Also, she's benching and doing chin-ups with her lacerated arm. They even draw attention to it with an "I think I pulled my stitches" joke. This is one of those runs where it could be easy to dovetail off into certain details the one feels should be taken more seriously than they are. And if one is like that, this run may great. If not, then it can just be a breezy read. Now, since Black Cat is stopping crimes, she needs crimes to stop. Her crew is down for her pivot, and so they give her some information about these low-level mafiosos who seem to be doing something for some vampires. Are these vampires, hot? Are they what? Are they the kind that look like romance novel heroes, or the kind that look like hairless, shriveled corpses? Again, what? Sorry, Pete, we're gonna have to cut this short. I've got a work thing. Non-injury thing, which I should have had at the start. No problem. I promised to meet my boyfriend at Sweetie Green's for lunch anyway. Sweetie Green's sounds so close to Sweaty Greens, and given the location, I feel like that has to be intentional. And if so, what an unappealing kind of image. That does not sound appetizing. This job takes Black Cat and her cake to Hell's Kitchen, which means, of course, we're due for a Daredevil encounter later on. As it stands, Black Cat goes to threaten these young mobsters for being too brazen. I'm here because I've realized something. It's hard to be a good thief when thieves are everywhere. People lock up their valuables. They stay home. They realize everybody has a grift, from their cell phone providers to their senators. I get it. I do. And if Spider-Man were doing his job, I wouldn't even be here. But all the heroes seem to be preoccupied with existential questions instead of petty crime these days. Black Cat's speech goes unheeded, and the vampire handoff is going on. However, before that, Sandman, at the behest of Tombstone, has been following her and reports back about her seeming heel turn. I only wanted to frighten them. Mess with the cat, you get the claws. Make them understand that I was serious. Felicia made that cat pun. Put a pin in it, because she's gonna complain about other people making cat jokes later on. It's different when she does it. Because of her interference, the vampire they were transporting is awakened into this chaos and is not impressed. And since Felicia brought it up, he doesn't look bad in a kind of a Nosferatu, classic Nosferatu kind of way. Not modern Nosferatu. That's a different energy. His name is Baron Alexander Razumonsky, and we'll see him again later. All this kerfuffle brings in Daredevil, whom Felicia reacts to in two ways. One, the standard I was handling myself, and two, by thinking that he's beautiful. That's a step above gorgeous. She's got it bad. Although, I immediately flashed during this issue to thinking he was in the waiting room of the night nurse's office. I guess she was too hurt and distracted to notice how beautiful he was from across the room. You gotta get a bit closer for the matte aura to kick in. And well, you know me. I find pretty things extremely distracting. Are you flirting with him? Well, I'm just standing here, losing money. I hate this country. They do manage to mess up this handoff. And so Felicia gets some attention, even though Daredevil gets most of the credit. But she gets live streamed and posted and develops overnight social media clout for saying that she's here to help people. And J. Jonah Jameson notices and decides that he needs pictures of Black Cat. I nearly said pictures of Catwoman, and that would have sounded better. We've got some crossovers on the horizon, time of recording. There's still time. Issue 3 sees rumors of Black Cat and Daredevil together. That part is bogus. Daredevil and I just talked for like 3 minutes. You see, this issue is bringing it up. It wants you to think about it. It's putting it out into the universe, even though Daredevil has his own stuff going on in his own book. Now in this issue, we're at the Black Cat wants some cred on her own, because as mentioned, Daredevil got a lot of that for the last one. And so this time Boris gives her what seems to be at first a regular smuggling case, but of course it's not. And also she's struggling with her skill set and matching it to stopping crimes instead of perpetrating them. There's a big chunk of her hopping onto a truck and trying to stop these criminals, and for the most part, it's pretty fun. She once more employs her luck powers to kind of swing things in her direction. When she does eventually end up at the location, it turns out that it was already staked out. There were already heroes handling this, and the hero in question that she encounters is Ms. Marvel. It's a little cameo for her, which is hardly surprising. G. Willow Wilson wrote the character's first solo series, so it's a very kind of classic Kamala appearance. It's very brief, and while it could have been any hero, it does work that it's Kamala because it highlights where Black Cat is on the totem pole of everything going on, and also that the heroes are really spread out. Since everything's kind of wrapped up for her, Black Cat ends up calling Jameson to try and talk to him about how he's presenting her. And there's this panel that stressed me out where she scratches her head with a gun. Felicia, no, please, safety first. What is this, the crypto issue? Also, throughout all of this, there's been an attempt to give Black Cat the nickname of BC to make it stick. They're pushing it quite hard in this series. I want to know what you think about that though. Are you here for BC? Do you like it or do you not like it? For some reason, I'm just like, no, thank you. Please just call her Black Cat. Ugh, I said no, thank you. That's the catchphrase that over in Tom King's Wonder Woman, they're trying to give her, that her thing is saying no, thank you. That's another catchphrase I'm not vibing with. Share all your thoughts about catchphrases. Now, at the end of this one, Felicia is captured and taken to Tombstone. Issue 4 has a booty cover that needs more outline definition to achieve the full effect it's going for, but would probably end up banned if it did. And inside, we have a confrontation between Tombstone and Felicia. When you flash those big eyes and that deep V-neck, nobody notices that you've got your hand in their pockets. It's a good hustle. I respect it. But don't expect me to skip the banter. We all use whatever gifts fate gives us. I charm people, you terrify them. The difference between us is I don't judge you for it. This is the most introspective of the issues to date, time of recording. Felicia gets very honest with Tombstone about her motivations and where she's coming from. And while it's interesting from a character perspective, it does raise some kind of, why is she telling Tombstone this energy? She spent a lot of this run being aloof and sarcastic, and then she just kind of reveals all these inner thoughts to Tombstone. She also talks about the chemistry she's having with Daredevil that other people have noticed, and so they bring it up. No, that was just an accident. It was late at night. The city was looking romantic and he's clearly been hitting the gym. Where does the guy find the time? Day job, superheroing, and working out? Sandman, no. You don't want any of Matt's mess. I guess it felt good, you know, to be admired for once. I mean, everybody admires me as something to look at, but it felt good to know that people admire me for something I did. Interesting. No one's ever admired me as something to look at. I'll tell you that. But I think I get what you're saying. Even the baddest of bad guys needs a pat on the head every so often. But as long as you're committed to these plans of yours, you're gonna have to be guest here in the outer boroughs for a while. What? That is a what moment, because on the surface it's why? There are so many other people who are trying to stop crime. Why does it matter that she pivoted? But it's going to matter in a couple of panels. Just thinking about all that speech, Black Cat probably has tons of admirers, not just for how she looks, but because she's a criminal and they think her heists are cool. It's the internet. There are definitely people who are into what she's doing. She's been hanging out in the wrong forums. This Felicia needs clout/attention from the masses. I can see it being a miles may vary moment for some. It depends upon how familiar one is with her. Felicia has had periods of insecurity, but they're normally taking place inside of a bit more of a dramatic toned kind of storyline. This run has been so breezy that this added layer may not be up to scrutiny for some, while for others they may welcome it. Of course, runs can have layers. There are multiple things going on. You can have multiple different cadences that can be pulled upon depending on what you're trying to make the overall effect be. But there's also the fact that this is happening while she's been captured by Tombstone, which for some may be jarring. Also, they then step right back into having it be relatable. It was time to face an embarrassing reality. I was cooked. But I don't think I really got the picture until I saw where Sandman was taking me. Are you seriously putting me in a dungeon? No, but now I'm going to be picturing you in a dungeon for the rest of the night. And now so is some of the audience. He's not taking her to the Red Room. While captive in the not dungeon, she overhears Sandman and Tombstone talking about Spider-Man and how he's been skimming off the top. And because she had that strange encounter with him back in issue 1, she believes it. Something must be off. It must be the Hellgate. Now she has more time to think about her plight, talk about it out loud, talk through it in the cell. So again, this is the most introspective issue, and she once more reiterates why she's doing it, because she's filling this gap so that she can go back to doing what she does best, because she wants to reassert the status quo. The way she gets out is she's saved by wishing some bad luck upon herself, which then brings back our vampire from issue 2, who shows up to serve her with a court summons. He's suing her. My way out of the presidential suite. What was that for? Baron Alexander, you're my bad luck charm. But after kissing this vampire, she also needs to actually get out to go to court. And so she tells him who to go get so that she can get out, which he does. I mean, living for a long time can get pretty boring. This seems kind of interesting. Also, he wants his money back. She tells him to go get the night nurse, which he does, and she helps get her out and then flirts with her aggressively. The femme fatale approach for Black Cat, when added to her bisexuality in this run, culminates to her just hitting on a lot of people, which for some will work with her base personality as they perceive it, because for some, that element of her is very high up in terms of her characterization, while for others it may feel a bit caricaturish and they may feel there's much more to the character than just that element. And some may also feel that plays into stereotypes about bisexuality, the idea that bisexuality equals hypersexuality. Now, what she overheard was a setup, so she's caught at the end of issue 4 and arrested in 5. Tombstone used her and then also gets the double kind of whammy of this is gonna mess with her reputation that she just set up. This issue, she's bailed out by MJ as they set up a future team-up plot. The two have had ventures together in the modern era. They've even had a couple specials, and in general, they have a fairly friendly status with each other. Although, when she shows up, we do hit a line that Marvel uses so often that it may be overstaying its welcome a little bit, perhaps. Face it, Cat, you just hit the jackpot. They use it too much. We gotta give it a rest so we can appreciate it again. But for you MJ Black Cat shippers, here it is. Some crumbs. They're giving them to you. Rejoice. For this issue, you feast. I guess it all went to my head. That one little moment when everybody loved me made me careless. I was paying attention to the wrong things. You just miss being a socialite. You don't actually want to be the bad guy. You want everybody to like you. Unfortunately, being universally beloved isn't really compatible with your job. I hope you're wrong, but if it's a choice between being an internet hero and having lots of money, I choose money. And there's the Felicia I know. You can have both. You can have internet fame and money. Sometimes the internet fame brings money, but you have to get pretty big for that to happen. The public now thinks that Felicia's good guy routine was all fake. They've turned on her. They're fickle. That part's pretty accurate. Also, the fact that they bought into it right away, there would have been people questioning it. The most realistic part of all of this is that Jameson picked the worst photo of her to run with the story. Black Cat goes to confront Tombstone, which ends up being another heart-to-heart, where he admits he used her to go for the cache of money, so then he could actually move it out, with the assumption being that it was hers. There was a whole he planned it. He was playing chess and she was posting on the internet. Issue 6 leaves her back with her prior reputation for the time and in bed with some random woman she picked up. This issue is called Night Court, and it does have some energy like that TV series. The vampire plot comes back with a vengeance and she has to face them, but she needs a lawyer, and so she seeks out Daredevil so he can get Matt to be her lawyer. And also, the woman she's with asks some questions about whether the vampires are hot or not, but they're standing right there. She can see whether they're hot or not. People in this universe are hung up on sexy vampires. Now, as for the Matt and Daredevil question, because some were asking when I posted some panels from this, shouldn't she know who Matt is? And also at points like in issue 5, one could assume that she does know based on phrasing. However, Daredevil had his identity erased by the Purple Children. So for the most part, people don't remember that Matt was Daredevil. So Felicia and Daredevil have had kind of a thing. So in this issue, we get her flirting with Daredevil and a bit of banter with her and Matt. Even though, again, because of how it's written at times, it comes across as being coy versus not knowing. It depends what issue you come in on. But regardless, here's some banter. And my husband's around, so he can be mad. I don't have to be all the men today, just most of them. I think we might have missed a turn.
We better not have. I'm not backtracking through this muck. These shoes are from Floorshimes.
This series has lots of quips. It's very common for there to be that rapid fire kind of back and forth that some associate with the MCU, some associate with Buffy. It's a very tried and true form of snark at this point. The thing that can happen with it though is that many of the side characters can start to blend together and the replies can become interchangeable if one relies on the same types of jokes for the banter, which does happen a little bit in this series. Matt doesn't always feel exactly like Matt. He sometimes feels like someone to bounce banter off of. Now the court case is very TV show comedy court, and Felicia finds that she owes a lot of money to these vampires for disrupting their business. She does not have that much money, and so her and Matt end up fighting some of these vampires while she tries to make her bad luck get her out of the situation. If I had concussive eye blast, this would be over in 5 minutes. But we all have to make do with the powers we've got.
Who are you talking to?
Am I the only one who thinks that would have been funnier if the line had been if you had concussive powers? Just because of Matt's glasses. They do look like Cyclops's. Change his hair color and he's looking a lot like Cyclops in these panels. Now her powers cause a leak, and since they're underground, water comes crashing in and her and Matt make a break for it. And then they go get some coffee. Just regular coffee, I assume. Not like Netflix Luke Cage coffee. She already hooked up with one person this issue. So that's the series as it stands, time recording 6 issues in. It does what it promises in terms of being a jumping on point. It is something you could just stumble into and pick up. Not even from issue 1. You could pick it up from pretty much any of these and be able to kind of follow along what was going on. You don't need a lot of prior Marvel lore knowledge to dive in, nor do you need to know what's going on overall in the rest of the universe, even at the present moment. Though if you do, it could enhance, although it could also grate. For example, this Daredevil Black Cat flirtation. For some may be at odds with the fact that in Daredevil, it seemed like Matt and Elektra were reconciling. Although Daredevil is also about to start a new #1, which promises a new status quo, a jumping on. There comes a point when you want things to have a layer of connectivity. Now, this series is just kind of flirting with it, pun intended. So it's not really interfering with his overall series, wherever that goes. Time recording. Although I must admit, they have chemistry. They brought it up more than once. It was kind of a thing. I don't hate it. But when I posted about it, some people said that Matt was getting Spidey sloppy seconds again. Some of y'all can be harsh. Now, this series overall is fairly light. It works well as a palate cleanser from darker fare, or just if one is looking for something kind of fun and breezy to read. Now, since this is so humor-based, it requires one vibing with the sense of humor that's on display. In this case, quippy, sarcastic with some fourth wall breaks. If that's up your alley, then this may work for you. If not, the series hinges upon it, so it may be less enjoyable. It also doesn't have the deepest premise, and some may feel that the psychological work with Black Cat doesn't match her long-term character or doesn't go deep enough to fully land. However, that is much more there to just facilitate this kind of change in status for her, and it's not set up in a way like it's going to be permanent. Now, the balance of keeping it feeling modern without overwhelming it with presentisms is fairly even. It doesn't read as though it's going to come across like some of these 60s Teen Titans issues later on. People will probably survive slang like cooked and ghosted. Now, plots about the internet and streaming and the like, it remains to be seen how they read in the future. I'm curious to see how that lands, and a lot of that's going to depend upon what the landscape ends up looking like. The fickleness of the public and support for and against her does come across very well, though. Now, whether or not one finds Felicia likable will depend on your mileage for foolhardiness and not thinking things through, which is essential for this series because it provides good fodder for the trouble she finds herself in. It dovetails well with the whole bad luck kind of magnet and her powers. It's diverting, and if you're looking for that kind of read, something light with a few character moments to ponder and plenty of jokes, some mild action, and much cheesecake, this may be for you. If you're looking for some deep, gritty analysis, as of 6 issues in, that is not what this is. Who knows, though? It could change. We could have a vast tonal shift. It could pull a Trigun. Now, if well handled, this series has the potential to have staying power. Just look at some other female series like Harley Quinn or Poison Ivy, just keeping on keeping on. Catwoman, again, all of those were DC series. Marvel, let these series have a chance. Let them cook. There are some elements here that feel like they could line up for letting this one last. But all of these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. Do you like Black Cat? Do you feel like this series is veering to Catwoman? How do you feel about Black Cat / Daredevil? Do you feel like Black Cat has solo staying power? Are you enjoying this series? Yay, nay? Please share all your thoughts down below. While you're down there, please do YouTube things like share, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so that you never miss a vid. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to spend discussing comics with me. I always appreciate it, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.